This is Jonathan St. James, and you're listening to The Truth is Still Straight podcast. All right, folks. Once again, I don't know what I mean by one again, but once again, it's that time for The Truth is Still Straight podcast. And as always, I am Jonathan St. James, along with the two partners in crime, Jim and Donnie St. James.
Hey, everyone.
Hello.
You sound a little low there today, Donnie. I'm not sure.
It's gonna change week to week.
Okay, now you sound better. No, your volume was, when you said the hello, it was really low. It was hell low. All right, what's going on in the world? Let's see. Jim's favorite team is out of the playoff, the Lakers, LeBron James.
Right.
They're out. Everybody else is out. The Trailblazers out. The Celtics out. The Knicks out. Who else am I missing? Can't think of offhand. But yeah, very, very interesting playoffs.
Play right now between the Mavs and Clippers.
Yeah, the Mavs and the Clippers are still fighting it out, I think, right? What is this? Game 6?
7. This is the last one.
No, but I'm saying that they just finished playing.
No, they're playing Game 7 right now.
Oh.
Yeah, they're playing Game 7 right now.
Right now? You sure?
Right now.
Let me see what's going on there. Let me check this game. Oh, yeah, they're playing. It's tied. Well, according to this ESPN, but sometimes the score is behind than the actual game.
Right.
Yeah, so that's interesting. What is it? The Nuggets. The Nuggets played first of all, it's crazy. Let me find out where everybody's at now. So the Sixers lost yesterday.
I'm surprised.
So they're down 1-0-1. Brooklyn is up 1. Let's see. Where are these people? Of course, the Nuggets, they went, and the Suns went forward. So the Suns, guessing. Am I missing a team? That's like 1, 2.
The Jazz. So the Jazz won.
The Jazz. Yeah. Jazz
but
won.
But Trailblazers, so it's fine. I mean, they beat the.
Yeah, I said okay. So that's interesting. Of course, the typical excuses for LeBron James. You know, how many times I got to hear he didn't have help and this and that. Oh my goodness. It's just a travesty. Every time he loses, he wins. Everyone is quiet about why he won. But when he loses, it's like, oh my God. That one guy, he was like, you know how difficult it is to see a 36-year-old man win without help. And we're like, what? Without help? He has other players on his team, a bunch of players. Maybe Anthony Davis went down, but there are other players on the team. It's not like he's playing with the Washington Generals.
The whole LeBron thing is, it's fine. He's a very good player. He's a great player, but you gotta take the good with the bad.
Well, I would just say he's a good scorer. I'm not giving him the rest of the stuff because he did things that really made me lose respect for him. Flopping, first of all, he travels a lot. And I don't mean he just travels like an extra step. I mean, this guy will take the ball from one side of the court and walk with it under his arm and not get called for travel. Like, how does that happen? How do you let a guy get the ball in bounds at the other side of the court, walk about 7 steps, and not call that traveling? That's amazing. So that's why he doesn't get my greatest. He doesn't get my greatest because he's abandoned teams to win championships. I mean, who does that? You're supposed to be the best player in the world. That's like Michael Jordan leaving every time to win a championship. Oh, I can't win it in Chicago. Let me go to the Knicks. Well, let me go to the Celtics and win a championship. And then I can't win over there. I'll go somewhere else. What happened to them 7 championships he was supposed to win in Miami? Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4. It's interesting. All right. What else is going on in the world? I don't know. They're talking about these UFOs. And of course, the disclaimer is that they don't know if they're really from outer space. And I could have told you that. Who knows what the hell? It could be anybody with the, it could be China, it could be Russia, it could be anybody with the UFOs. It could be not even a real size UFO. It could be a smaller UFO that, of course, no one has actually said what the dimensions of these objects are. So who knows what they are? All they know is they're flying in the sky. They don't know where they're from. So they can't confirm nor deny the origin of the UFOs.
So shouldn't you get Mulder and Scully on that case?
Yeah, we can do that. Maybe we can get some Ghostbusters too while we're at it. The Men in Black, we can do that too. Get all these people on the case. We can get the LeBron James and his crew from Space Jam too. They can get on that case as well. Are you even gonna watch? I bet you, Jim, you're gonna watch that. I know it. You just
no, I'm not.
I'm not watching it at all. I'm just gonna say I refuse to watch it. I barely like the first one, so I doubt I'll be watching it.
That's for the kids. I'm just trying to see A Quiet Place 2 or something like that. Something a little bit different.
A Quiet Place 2.
Yeah, you don't like A Quiet Place?
Not really.
Yeah, you a tough critic.
Yeah, not really.
Ebert. This dude's worse than Siskel and Ebert, man. Like
that's right. I give everything 2 middle fingers. Oh no, 2 thumbs down.
Of course.
I apologize for all my wholesome watchers, all 2 of you. Let's see what I did watch recently. I watched Cruella. That was interesting.
Oh, you did see it. Oh, what'd you think?
Yeah. It was okay. It was actually pretty good. There's nothing on that I haven't seen, so
right.
I said, let me give it a chance, and I watched it. It was pretty good. It's pretty good. I tried to watch this movie, but I didn't get very far because I did something stupid to my iPhone and didn't realize I did it. I locked the what they call that when you can flip the screen. So I was like
orientation.
Yeah, the orientation. So I didn't realize I locked it, and I was like, oh my god, did I have something wrong with my stupid phone? I mean, I had the problem with the screen already, so I was like, what else is going on with this phone? But of course, I went on YouTube and they said, oh, you probably just locked it. So I checked, and that's what it was. But I was trying to watch this movie Occupation with but here's the issue that I'm having with this movie. It's they have Ken Jeong as one of the stars, and I'm really having a hard time watching that movie because he's in it. It's very hard. Once he was Mr. Chow in Hangover and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the 50th movie of The Hangover, it's like really hard for me to see him in a serious role. So I was having a hard time watching it. And then I think it's like sci-fi or something like that. And then the people who made Power Rangers made it. So, I was having a hard time with that. Power Rangers. I was waiting for some Zords to come down. And what else did I see?
What's the movie about, though?
I'll read it to you right now. I'll tell you. So basically, it says 2 years into an intergalactic invasion of Earth. Let me read it like the movie guy. 2 years into an intergalactic invasion of Earth. Survivors in Sydney, Australia fight back in a desperate ground war. As casualties mount by the day, the resistance and their unexpected allies uncover a plot that would see the war come to a decisive end. With the alien invaders hell-bent on making Earth their new home, the race is on to save mankind. So, yeah, I saw about 2 minutes of it. And floating around is, I know this is your favorite movie, Jim, and that's Friends, the reunion. Did you watch it yet? I know you were making it a goal to see.
I only saw a few episodes of Friends in my lifetime. I prefer Seinfeld over Friends if I had a choice.
Oh man, terrible.
No Friends.
Terrible. I watched exactly half of Friends, and for some reason it took me that long to figure out it wasn't funny.
I don't know why. The movie or the TV show?
No, the show.
I didn't like Friends at all. I kind of knew what was going on because it was popular at the time. I just, I didn't really like Seinfeld, but I actually watched that. I didn't really watch Friends.
Yeah, like that's my whole point. Like if I had a choice, Seinfeld has some more
Yeah,
funny.
no, Seinfeld definitely has some episodes. I just didn't really like the character. I didn't really like the characters. I know everybody likes them. I just wasn't. I didn't really like Elaine. Like she and that character annoyed me a lot, and Kramer annoyed me a lot too. I'm like, why? But it's interesting the diner that they use, and I say this, and of course, people on Facebook, those people. But I didn't realize the song was from that diner, Tom's Diner. I didn't know it was about that diner that they used
Really?
for the facade for Seinfeld. Yeah, Tom's Diner.
Oh wow. Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
Tom's Diner.
that's the place in on the show that they use it for the backdrop. That's the actual diner from the song, and I didn't realize that. When you hear it, I wish I could play, but I don't want to get copyright strikes against me. Not that I'm got this big monetization here, but I don't want to get demonetized before I actually get monetized.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll just digress on that. What else is going on? I don't know. It's trying to think of anything else is worth talking. Oh, let's talk about this Naomi Osaka thing. So that's a whole big controversy. So basically, what was that, the French Open she dropped out of
Yes.
because she didn't want to talk to the press because she felt like the press, the way that they interacted with the players made it very difficult for the mind, for the mentality of players. So she didn't, so then I think there was some issue with a fine and stuff like that. And I can't remember how far the story went, but the moral of the story was that she dropped out to avoid whatever penalty she was going to get from not talking to the media. And I just wanted to say, I think it was Brett Favre, as they say in Something About Mary. I think it was him that tried to bash her and say, well, this is what we're supposed to do. And I understand that, but there's a legitimacy in what she's saying. The problem with the press is they really respect people in this day and age,
That's not the primary job is to play tennis and to entertain the masses.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Goes out there and plays football the way is that Tommy Lauren tried to tell LeBron James to shut up and dribble. That the first as an athlete is to entertain the people on TV.
Well, not Tommy Lauren. I think that was Angle. What's her name? What's her name from Fox? Not Tommy Lauren, somebody else, because that's her thing. She says to shut up and but I can't remember. Ingram.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, like that. The press is is outreach. That's considered outreach for the sport. Now, when you're doing outreach, you're supposed to be talking about the sport, but the press brings in unnecessary questions and topics. Some of them don't know how to keep on topic. It's always true. And and that's the problem with most individuals. They don't know how to stay on topic.
But here's my thing. Here's my thing about that. So I agree. I know people who are LeBron sexuals and everything, but here's the thing. I prefer athletes to shut up and dribble or actors to shut up and act or whatever she said that they do. Because here's the thing. Most of these people don't even know what the issue is. Like, it's one thing if you were well informed, but here's the problem. You have uninformed people giving misinformation to other uninformed people, and that's very dangerous. That's the problem that we have in this country now, because people are getting their news from LeBron James and not from legitimate sources. That was like the whole thing with Taraji P. Henson, and her son got pulled over by some campus police or something like that, and she basically cried racism and all types of police misconduct, and come to find out none of that happened. So you went out there and you falsely accused police of doing something to your son, and they did no such thing. But that didn't stop you from laying the damage, because the problem with that is people, they hear the negative. They never hear when you come back and say, "Oh, sorry."
Yes. That's
So,
why yes.
so go ahead, Jim.
Sorry. Same thing with Jussie Smollett.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, was all on him, and, supporting him and stuff like that. But, real people knew that 2 and 2 he was coming with didn't equal 4. It equaled 5 and 6.
Right.
But everybody just throwing their support behind him without getting all the information. The only thing we really asking is get all the information before you throw something out there.
I agree with that.
Sorry to cut you off like that, but that's
no,
really
that's okay.
I just get all the information, please. That's all I ask.
So let's see what else is going on. Of course, the saga with Kevin Samuels is ongoing. They Royce the 5'9" had apparently some song that was dissing him, but he later apologized for whatever. I mean, I didn't get the full story on what happened there, but whatever it was, he ultimately apologized, because I think he was himself not under the proper understanding of Kevin Samuels, which most people aren't.
They aren't. It's misinformation and misinterpretation. It's hearing what you want to hear and not really throwing everything into the right context. That's why I say, look everything for yourself. Don't rely on telephone, because if you play telephone with people, the original message is not the message you end up with.
You was gonna say something, Donnie, or that was just you were reacting?
No, I was just like, how is Royce the 5'9" even relevant to that scene of media or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you know what it is? I mean, Kevin Samuels is becoming so popular. I just think everybody wants to get in on the debate. So, of course, that's what we call clout chasing, right?
Yeah.
Trying to get some clout by mentioning someone's name. Hell, I did a little clout chasing here, mentioned him on a couple of episodes and talked about him. I think last week we talked about Kevin Samuels. You try to get a little clout, I mean, he doesn't mind. I think ultimately he doesn't care what people says about him, because this is the phenomenon of Kevin Samuels. If you really want to hear the truth and you really want to know what he's about, you'll watch the whole thing. But if you're just looking to hate and just be a troll, you're just going to watch the clips that everyone puts on their streams or on their content creations. And and a lot of people there talking about 3 minutes or 2 minutes of a conversation he's having with someone, and it's always the same thing. Yeah, I don't like the way that he talks to women. And I'm like, what? First of all, let's call a spade a spade. It's all the same. Men, women, cats, dogs, elephants, rats, mice, roaches. He talks to them all the same. If they get out of pocket, yes, he can be a little bit verbose in terms of how he responds to them. But, you got to understand, this is YouTube. There's an element of entertainment. He's not going to be boring. He's not going to say, oh, yeah, I disagree with you. Let's disagree to disagree. Who would even watch that? Let's be honest. Who would be, for example, that's like watching a boxing match, and the boxing match is just everyone dancing around the ring every round. Who would pay $59 or however much it cost? Who would pay for that if there was no punching? So clearly,
but already.
So clearly there's an element of you want to be entertained. I mean, I prefer, to tell you the truth, I like the drama myself. Like when he's taking someone to task, I love it. The same thing with most of these shows, Fresh and Fit. When the Frank Castle comes out, that's all I care about. I don't who cares about agreeing, or I don't watch that for agreeing. I want to see the drama. I want to see Maury Povich for "You Are Not the Father." It's more entertainment when the woman is running around the set, diving on the couches and running in the bathroom or climbing out the fire escape and jumping 3 stories down. Like that's more fun than "You Are the Father." Because guess what happens before "You Are the Father"? the woman comes out, she talks to trash. The guy comes out, everybody boos him. Then he's the father, and the woman, excuse me, jumps in his face and starts, say, I told you. What's fun in that? We've already seen the whole segment of this guy getting beat up. There's no entertainment in that. But when the guy comes out, everybody boos him. The woman jumps in his face. And then Maury Povich comes out with his pimp hat and he says, when it comes to 3-year-old Shaka Zulu, Leroy, and then of course they all do this. He does this. Lauren Lake does this on Paternity Court. They were like, Leroy, you are not the father. They do it all the time. I watch Paternity Court all the time, and Lauren Lake will jump out there and do it all the time too. But the problem I have with Lauren Lake is she's very, she'll pop off on the ladies, but she's very hard on the guys. Like this guy got on there, got drugged through the mud and all of these things. And you expect him to be okay when he finds out he's not the father. Like, how does that work? You would just let this woman beat up on him for like 4 or 5 minutes of telling what kind of piece of trash man he is and this and that, and then he's not the father. What do you expect him? How do you expect him to react?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, of course the guy's upset and he's letting off the steam because he just finished. Could you imagine that somebody's trying to take you to child support and they're telling you to pay up and pay for your child and it's not your child? Like, give me a break.
No, they don't understand that men don't have feelings. It just would be robotic and just be like, all right, just take it like a man and move on. No, you're getting dragged on national TV. Well, not dragged. Yeah, I'm sure you want to come on, but you're getting insulted on national TV. You're being told you're worthless. You're a deadbeat, and find out that you're not the mother. But you can't tell the woman you know what, she's being insincere and all that other stuff. But they smooth it over and they just and the guy can't like express himself. But like what you said, they're not really there for the man to express himself. They're for the woman's reaction when they found out that he's not the father.
Right.
And that's what.
But I love you are not the father. I love it. I just love it. It's just so exciting.
Maury created mad track stars from his show.
Yes, definitely. They're all in the Olympics now, winning gold medals. Just say, and this is how they start the race. Ready, set, you're not the father. And then everybody takes off and you find out who wins. Let me tell you, they just dive they run all over the studio, dive on the couches. And first of all, some of them ladies, you can't even fit under that couch. Why are you trying to dive under the couch? I'm just saying, oh my goodness. I haven't watched Maury in a long time. Now I watch Lauren Lake mostly, and they don't do all of that. I'm guessing there's not much studio once you leave the room. It's probably the parking lot.
Yeah, it's not as fun. Yeah, it really isn't.
Yeah.
Real quick. Since you like the drama, have you ever seen that old game show, Moment of Truth?
Moment of Truth. Yes. I just watched it again recently. Moment of Truth.
They were trying to ruin lives.
Oh yeah, definitely. For what is it? What did it even get? Half
like 500,000. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it? I never saw it before.
Oh, here's what it was. Okay, they would bring in a person, and then they'd bring like 4 or 5 of their like closest family members, like their husband, sisters, parents, whatever. And then they'd have to take a lie detector test beforehand, and then live in front of all of them would have to answer the same questions, but they have to answer it truthfully, otherwise they lose all the money, whatever they've earned up to that point. Yeah. So at one point they have I seen this one episode, they have the ex-boyfriend of this girl come out and her husband's there, and she's like, do you think this is the man you should be married to? And then one of her family members presses a buzzer to change the question, and they ask basically the same question again, so she had to answer it regardless. And you just see the husband losing it the whole time.
Oh, wow.
And then they just asked straight up, like, have you ever cheated? And it was yes. It just got worse. The one question she got lie on was when they asked her if she thought she was a good person. She said yes, it was a lie. apparently.
Yeah, I saw that. Most of them, I mean, I don't know if it ever happened if someone actually won the 500,000, but they've usually gotten pretty far and then kind of just walked away with the money or got busted. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna get ready and start this episode. So, ladies and gentlemen, here's the moment you've been waiting for. The relationship topic for today. And the topic for today is love and how its subjective definition causes problems in relationships. So, what does that mean? It means a lot of things because I find the root of many relationships is based on love. And what do we mean by love? That's the problem. What do we mean by love? Because what love may mean to me may not mean the same for Jim. It may not mean the same for Donnie. And it may not mean the same for the ladies that they are interested in. And that's a problem because love is interpretational based on a lot of things. One of the things love is based on our values, your upbringing, your environment. So those are things that will reflect on what you believe love is. And a lot of people that when they get into relationships, I don't want to say they're whole, but the majority of the relationship is based on love. And that's a problem. Why? Because as we know, as Jay-Z said in his song, grand opening, grand closing. And when that happens, then the relationship falls apart. So we'll just kind of briefly talk about the differences in love. I'll start off there. Let's talk about that. And so I'll Jim, would you like to start that off or would you want me to go first?
You go first. I'm not good at this topic, to be honest with you.
Okay. Well, you don't have an opinion. Everybody has an opinion, like a butthole. Come on now, my guy. Come on now. So here's the thing. So, okay. So like we said, love is dictated by your upbringing, your parents, your friends, your lifestyle, your culture. Some cultures are very romantic. Other cultures, not so romantic. So United States, France, Spain, to some parts, the UK, Western countries are romanticized. A lot of Eastern Bloc countries are not. Japanese culture is not extremely romantic. Chinese, not very romantic. Indian cultures, not very romantic. A lot of Muslim-backed cultures are not very romantic. There are a lot of places that have arranged marriages. They put two people together and they get into relationships. Often there's love to be found there. Many times there isn't. So when you have those kind of factors, lifestyle, family, upbringing, values, religion, things like that, that creates a dynamic of what love is. And, you know, I had a recent discovery of what that actually means to me, because I remember at some point in time that, you know, I don't know what the hell that was, in love, whatever. I can't really tell you that it was so long ago, but I just remember reconnecting, having a conversation with the person. And it was not necessarily about us when we were having this romance or whatever you want to call it that was going on at the time. But it was to the fact of, I thought I was doing a lot, right? You know, I was being caring, concerned, supportive. And the thought process from the woman was basically I wasn't really doing anything at all. So the value that I thought I was giving into the relationship, because I thought when you love somebody, you're supportive of them, you're concerned, you're caring. You often put their well-being above yours at times. So I thought those were things that were positive and important in a relationship, you know, whether you're just friends with somebody or you're dating or boyfriend and girlfriend, a husband and wife, or whatever. But I discovered those were minimized by the person on the other side, where she didn't see the the same value. Not that there was no value, but the value wasn't the same. So here's the thing. So my love was here and her love was here, or whatever it was. And when you think about somebody that you love and you say, wow, you know, I really put my heart into that person. And then you find out, well, the person cared back, but it wasn't the care where it was like 5 minutes passed when you weren't with that person anymore. They didn't have those feelings towards you. So that's a different value of love. My thought is my love for someone should be a long lasting. It should travel throughout the years and space and time. And hers was, well, I love you, but I moved on. I don't love you anymore. Boom, Thanos, you know, snapped his finger and everything was gone. So that's the process with a lot of people. Your love is this, my love is that. And then we try to come together and it's flies over. One flies, it's just the measurement is seldom just match. The energy seldom matches. The quality of love is seldom the same. And so it causes a lot of issues. So is that enough for you to comment on, Jim? Or do I need to talk some more?
Yeah. Yes, love is a value-based system, which is unique to everyone. Now, nowadays, it's not so unique. They're trying to standardize it based on unrealistic goals and expectations that they see everywhere, the amount of intake and information. It is a difficult topic for me in general, because I'll be honest with you, love to me is different than love for you because of our upbringing, you know, our background, things like that. And this is why, you know, I tell people to converse with your significant other before you go to that, you know, before you take to another level, to understand where they're coming from. I was a caring type, but not that much caring due to my upbringing. I was supportive. I am supportive. I also try to do things more that, you know, to share that I care, or at least I'm attentive in that retrospect. But what the other side was expected saying was that that's expected of me. That's not love. That's what's expected of me to do. So their version of love was different. It was like, you know, basically submission. You know, if you love me, you do this. If you love me, you do that. If you love me, you won't do it. And that was where my disconnect is because we had different backgrounds and upbringings created different interpretations of love. And like what you say, you can't meet in the middle because, you know, what's ingrained into their head stayed there. They didn't adjust, they didn't adapt, they didn't evolve their meaning. It just stayed at that one point. And for most people today, it stays at that one point because it's being pushed upon everyone. So I try to adapt, but that what other people's meaning of love is not for me. And you know, to me, I'm not saying it's okay, but you know, you shouldn't have to suffer through a relationship and say it's love. It's not love. It's just you trying to, what Kwame Brown would say, go along to get along. And that to me is just like the biggest disconnect. Love for some people is like a drug. It's a feeling. You should feel like that all the time and get high off of it. But you know, with highs, you have your peaks and valleys, and people don't like valleys. They just want to be at peaks. It's impossible to maintain. So, like I said, it's just what you said before. All those factors, background, upbringing, religious beliefs, things like that, plays a role. But also our outside daily influence, besides from our parents and family structure, plays a role. You know, what our friends think. You know, what other people think who are not involved. It's like too many. You're on sensory overload on what your intake of what other people's opinion is, and you can't weed out everything. People don't want to weed out everything from what you receive. So it's it's a very distinct but a very hard to tackle or hard to pin on type of subject, because like what you said, everybody has their own interpretation.
All right, Donnie. So are you following along so far? Do I need to further say or comment? Are you
No,
good?
I think I'm okay. What I was gonna do actually, I was gonna give to like negative, like definitions people give to love or association they put with love, I guess. Um, you often see people equate love to affection. Like the more they are showing some sort of outward appreciation or something like that, that would then is meant to signal that they love you more. Whereas it's not true. We've talked about in the past love bombing. That's a very slippery slope into manipulation there. Some people give that a little bit too much weight without actually considering what that other person has to offer. And all the love just becomes love becomes all the surface level things and nothing more. And on the other end, I've seen some people have their love be equivalent to possession, where it's like, it's not really that they have some sort of strong feeling or connection with this person. It's just that they see some sort of value in them, and they are take satisfaction off of that person being theirs, for lack of better words. They just like the idea that they can do whatever they want with them, and so on and so forth. It's like a trophy almost.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I wanted to read something while we're here. I wanted to read this article that I saw from Psychology Today, and it was written by Jessica. No, review. Yeah, I guess by Jessica Schrader, spoken by Susan Peace Gadua. Say that twice. And the topic of this article is called Three Reasons Why You Shouldn't Marry Alone. So I'll read it, really try to read it really fast. And basically, it says those who don't marry for love in our culture are considered unlucky, suspect, manipulative, exploitative, and bad. We feel they are either doing something wrong or there is something wrong with them. It makes us feel everything from sympathy to contempt for these folks, because most of us were taught that love is the only right reason to tie the knot. But if you really think about it, love is a luxury. When you marry for love, it generally means you have all, or at least most, of your other needs met, like food, shelter, warmth, etc. That may explain why those with fewer financial resources also have lower marriage rates. If you're worried about your survival or safety, you're not going to be focusing on finding the man or woman of your dreams, unless, of course, this dream person is your ticket out of your terrible home life, dreary financial picture, or scary singledom. Procreation has always been a factor in why people married, but up until 200 years ago, people in the West married more for political or financial gain than for love. The Victorian era and the Industrial Revolution created two important changes in how people live. Romance became all the rage, and technological advances made life much easier. Prior to these developments, divorce was incredibly rare, but when love entered the picture as the reason to marry, disillusions became more commonplace. Women's rights. Oh, this is two women that are involved in this story, just a disclaimer. Women's rights, no fault divorce laws, and a greater emphasis on the pursuit of personal happiness in the 1970s opened the door to more choices and therefore more divorces. Disillusion rates spiked up to 50% from 11 in the 50s and have not changed much in the last 50 years. We've come a long way with technology and modern living, but have we actually come too far in our conjugal love-centric culture? What experts like Andrew Sherlin, Marriage Go Round, and Stephanie Kuntz, Marriage A History, tells us is that in our attempts to make marriage stronger by raising the bar to meet our higher love and romance needs, we have seriously weakened the institution. These are both highly changeable emotions. When love wanes, the marriage gets shaky. When the romance stops, the nuptials die. People whose primary reason to marry is other than love, such as to have children with someone they believe will be a good co-parent, to have financial security, or for companionship, generally have longer and perhaps better marriages because their choices are made for a defined purpose. Additionally, their expectations of marriage and their mates are less unrealistic. Their spouse wasn't expected to be the one, like Neo. I just added that. They merely needed to be Mr. or Mrs. Good enough. Some people call this settling, but we are seeing the wisdom of marriages like these more and more. I'm not saying love shouldn't be on the list of things that need to be in your relationship, but it doesn't need to be number one. And perhaps it shouldn't be. Here are the 3 reasons why I think marrying primarily for love is not wise. Here's number 1, and maybe we should talk about these things after I read them. Love is a change. Well, this is basically what we talked about. Love is a changeable emotion. As quickly as you fall in love, you can fall out of love. Then what? Either the relationship ends or it becomes toxic. If love is your primary connection, the glue is gone. Number 2, love does not make for a strong enough foundation. Yes, love is strong, but due to the fact that it can evaporate, it is not something that can stand alone as the basis for long-term relationship, especially when the kids are involved. Anything built on a foundation of love is subject to crumbling. And here's the last comment on this. And 3, love is far from all you need. You need mutual respect, shared goals, and compatibility way more than you need love to have a sustainable, lasting relationship. People fall in love with love, just as Kim Kardashian showed us, because they think it will carry them the distance. We all want to be wanted, and we love to love. Yet, if you had a recipe for a strong, healthy relationship, it may look like this: 1 cup respect, 1 cup shared goals, 3 cups compatibility, 1 tablespoon love, 1 tablespoon attraction, optional. No part of this publication may be reproduced. Okay, I didn't reproduce it, so there you go. I just wanted to read that for legal sakes. So let me read that. Yeah, I didn't reproduce it. I don't think so. I gave the proper quotations, fair use, all that applies. Okay, so let's go into this conversation. So we talked about the love is a changeable emotion, of course, because it involves feelings. I don't know any love that involves really logic and reasoning. It mostly involves feelings, whether it's an attraction, whether it's an emotion that someone brings out of us by the way that they treat us, a touch, a look, some kind words, a sensual touch. Those things, they release pheromones in your body that just creates this stimulant. And if it's a good feeling, it inhibits love. And if it doesn't, then there's something else going on there. So we talked about that more or less. I don't want to keep beating that dead horse. But of course, here's the foundation part. Does not make for a strong foundation. So I wanted to talk about that. So I read the article. Jim, I guess you can either make a comment on the article or talk about the foundation aspect of relationships. You can choose which you want to do.
I'll start with the foundation aspect, since you already started with the first part, the pheromone and stuff like that. What love is a feeling. So I agree with the article on the second part. Love is not a foundation. It's just feel. You don't build a foundation based on feelings. You base on a foundation on hard work, dedication, compatibility, suitability, if you're suitable or not. You make these decisions to say you can grow with a person and to evolve. Love is not evolving. Love does not evolve a relationship, to be honest with you. I don't think it does. I think your you yourself as a person, your change of behaviors, your how you respect your responsibilities, that helps evolve a relationship. Love is just something, to me, it's something some company made up for commercial purposes to sell stuff for Valentine's Day, have a big wedding. I think love is just commercial to me. It's a feeling, yes, you can have it, but for most things, it's not what a relationship starts or ends. Like, when people say they fall out of love, that means there's something else behind it. Like a person could have lost his job, he lost your respect. They don't take care of the kids enough. They don't do certain things. It's a certain requirement that they're not fulfilling, and then they use the love excuse to say that's why. And when you go deep behind it, that's not really what it is. So to me, I think the article is totally correct. The foundation of a relationship is not based on love. It's mutual respect, suitability, um, your finances, how far you're gonna go, how you starting, how you gonna evolve your relationship and grow with the person. When you have children, things like that. Yes, but love, like we said, love is, to me, is like a drop of, like, when you're using vanilla extract, just a drop is all you need. Because that's not the requirements for most people out there. People saying, they want love and respect. No, they want protection. They want, you to have their back. They, financial stability. They want all those things as well. And that's not a requirement for love.
All right, Donnie, I wanted to also get into something between this topic and the next one about not far is far from all you need. So what do you have on the point of not making a strong foundation?
I actually was going to comment on the idea that not having this kind of love isn't settling. That's what I was actually going to hit on, if that's all right.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Cool. So I was actually ironically reading up about this kind of topic maybe yesterday, 2 days ago, and I was seeing a lot of accounts from people in marriages that they didn't feel like they were in love. And it's even to my understanding that love, as we're talking about it right now, isn't necessarily like feeling love towards someone, but really what it's getting at is like that passionate in love, like fiery emotion, that whole scene of things. That's usually what people end up talking about when they're talking about like the one and all that. And that aspect of a relationship isn't any different from things like wealth or attractiveness. They're things like that you can go without in a relationship and still be successful. But people aren't able to look at it like that. Because I was reading up on these people and they were saying they love their partner in the sense that they hold affection towards them. They think they're good people and all that. They just don't have that passion or whatever that comes with being in love. And they've worked out just fine. I think if people were able to kind of change the way they view this, I think it'd be less of a problem. Something as constantly changing as passion can't really make for a good foundation, because anything that you can't guarantee will be there in bad or good times, it'll never be enough to stand on.
Yeah, that's a good perspective there. And it's interesting because part of what I wanted to talk about next is actually a part of a response to what even you just commented on. And that's a good point, because what I see is, like you said, a lot of times when things go people's way, they're very much in love. And that's an issue. That's a big problem, because one, no one has ever learned how to define love. It's just a sensation that comes over people. So, and I think we're tricked from kids. So when we're kids, and, people call that puppy love, but who really grows out of puppy love? Because you can get some grown people and they use the same principles to puppy love as they do to grown people's loves. He takes me out on dates. And so, and he does this for me, he does that, we do this, we do that. We go out to the beach. He buys me jewelry and things like that. And then when those things don't happen, guess what happens? There's not so much loving anymore. And then it's like, oh, I wish he would do this like he used to, or I wish he would do this like he used to. And then before you know it, now they're looking to replace the person. And that's what I find is so interesting to me. And I think the misconception that I want to talk about next is love itself. You know, people talk about unconditional love. And I'm like, the biggest misconception in relationships is unconditional love, because most love is conditional. It's conditional about the way you feel about the person and how they're treating you, and if they're doing things that are pleasing or satisfying to you. So that's the problem, because unconditional love would mean no matter what happens, that you would still be loving that person the same as if you weren't getting what you wanted or what you felt like you needed from that person. And that rarely happens. And not to say it doesn't happen, but those are pretty disciplined people that can go through everything in a relationship and still continue with that person. And that's very difficult to do, as we know that divorces are over 50%. And according to these statistics, that most women are the ones that file for divorce. And most of that reason is financial.
Yes.
So you have the majority of the divorces being filed by women, and the majority of those reasons tend to be financial. I don't want to go into other reasons like domestic violence and cheating or whatever, because those are things that you can't really, it's a lot too much to in this episode. It's too much to talk about. So, Jim, yeah. So you talked about the unconditional and conditional. What do you think about that? Do you feel like what am I on the right track here? What do you think?
You're on the right track, with especially unconditional love. There's no such thing as conditional love, unconditional. There is nothing in this world to me that is unconditional. Everything has a condition. Everything is an exchange that has to be adhered to. So you can't relationships. People want you to love them, stuff like that. But at the same token, you're receiving it. You have to give. What are you giving? Are you just take? What are you giving? You can't fall out of love with a person if you're not giving anything. You're just giving love. Like, is that? And what says, oh, well, I love them. But if the person were actually giving something to you and they loved you, what were you giving? That's a condition. You can't be a one-way street. Everything has a condition, works within parameters. It's like science, basically, with science, stuff like that. That's why you can't have alchemy or transmutations, because you have to give up something. Some things don't work. You have to give up something to get something. And that's the way, and honestly, that's the way the world works. Even if it's faith, something you can't see. God requires faith. You're giving up something. So, I mean, for me, it's unconditional love is to me, that's some Disney-inspired crap that you see in fairy tales and books and stuff like that. It's always great to dream, but you have to be grounded in reality in some things. And I love people, but I do have conditions on loving people. But my patience and tolerance is higher than others to say that I love a person. So my patience of people and tolerance of people is different than love. So when people confuse my levels for that of how I interact with people, they confuse it like I love them, but that's not true. I just have a high patience and tolerance level because I try to get people to understand, and I try to understand from their point of view as well. But they confuse that for love, and that is really not what it is. It's just my personality of who I am. I like what Donnie said. With the receiving of love and things like that, people don't know. I won't say people don't know how to love, but their interpretations of how to love it varies from person to person. And it could be symbiotic. It could be just a one-way street. It could be parasitic. It's for me, this is very hard. this is very hard for a topic for me because I've loved people, but I haven't been in love. My upbringing, mostly it was different, but it was hard. And when you grow up hard, love was not a feeling that was a lot. It was something I wasn't afforded to, and but patience and tolerance was. And I get people confuse me that I like being treated like that, but it's not that I like being treated. It's just what I was taught growing up, and it's not love. It's just who I am as a person. And we have to, sometimes people don't want to differentiate between that. And excuse me, I really don't know what truly what love is for for myself. I love myself, but the way I love myself is not considered helpful or even productive. I buy things, it could be borderline like, depression. It's how other people perceive it and how you perceive it as well, but you cannot make that what you only perceive love as be the only end goal of what the meaning is.
So I wanted to jump in there real quick before I turn it over to Donnie, because I wanted to say something. Because when we talk about unconditional love and is it possible to have it? And here's the trick in that statement. And I'm going to say, yes, it is possible to have unconditional love. But the problem with unconditional love is hardly ever permanent. So you can have a moment in time where no matter what happens, you can do all the things that a person could do in a loving relationship, like be totally out for that person, but it's not a permanent thing. So it's and I haven't seen it. And not to say that is not, anything is possible. I just haven't seen it. And most people I know haven't seen it, where it's like, no matter what happens, you stand tried and true and you stay perfect on that love. So you can do things that are unconditional in terms of like, if you can love someone and not get things in return and keep on doing it, but often that doesn't stand the test of time. It's very temperamental and temporary. So you can have things that may start off and have the feel of unconditional, but the true unconditional, which should stand the test of time, is very hard to do because we're human beings and imperfect. And anybody who could say they can do this every day of their life with it not faltering, I want to see them at Maury Povich right away, strapped to a lie detector test, because I think I know what the answer is coming back with that.
That is a lie.
Yes. All right. Let me get Donnie in here because we're kind of running towards the 60-minute hour here, and I want to get his perspective. So Donnie, what do you just hold that point, Jim? Because as soon as he finishes, I'll throw it right back to you.
Yeah, sure. I have a quick thing anyway. What I was trying to think of while you guys were talking is what a lot of the people who say unconditional love are really trying to get at. And the closest thing I can come up to as in terms of a definition seems to be low maintenance love. It seems like that's what they're really saying. And when I say that, what I mean is that they don't require their partner to do extreme things in order for them to love them. They're cool with wherever they are right now, or just things like that. That's the feeling I'm getting. It seems more like there's no pressure. I'm not looking for XYZ things. What you do right now is fine, as opposed to you could do anything you want to me and I'll still be cool and we can keep this going. Because most of the people who say that, they flip the script as soon as something they don't like happens.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Mm-hmm. When you don't meet the expectation, that's why I say you may be able to achieve that, but often it's in short spurts. It's just very hard to maintain. You got to be some kind of Forrest Gump kind of person to really maintain that type of love for somebody through everything, because we're all capable of faltering. We're all capable of letting people down, not meeting expectations.
Yes.
That just happens. So unconditional would be that happen and the person just still loves them no matter what, that's just very hard to attain. I always say in life, we strive for perfection with the understanding that we'll never be perfect and we'll die. The only time we're perfect is when we die, because we can do no wrong at that point. So that's how I view it. All right, Jim. So I was going to hit it back to you and see what you were trying to say before I hit it over to Donnie.
I agree with you in that. But yes, like perfection, love is a state. It's not permanent. States, are easily transferable, like solid, liquid, and gas. You can easily go from loving to not loving to basically, like you said, a flip of a switch. I just think that it's just a state. It's not something that it can be properly attained and sustained without one doing more than the other, and there's no balance. I think a relationship has to be more balanced than love. So that that's why I say I agree with you on that part. To me, it's just a temporary state. I don't believe it could last 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour, a day, a month, but
right. Or a year or 2 years. Yeah.
And then, but the problem I have is that once it's gone, people try to achieve that back again the same way they got it. And maybe it's not like that anymore. Something's changed, something's different. You did not evolve your thinking or adapt. You're going back to the same type of process to get that state again, and you will stop at nothing to attain it. I think that type of obsession is kind of dangerous, because you just lose sight of your goals on attaining another state again of love, when you basically walk over things or gloss over things that you should be paying attention to. And I've seen that happen. And I say, instead of going for this way, why don't you get it this way? No, it has to be this way, but it won't allow you to do that anymore. That, to me, that's what I see all the time.
Yeah, I wanted to say this too. So here's the thing. What is love? And the issue is that is the value. So the value of a dollar in America is not the same as the dollar value in Mexico or Dominican Republic or places like that. And then even if you go places, let's say, that value the American dollar, like United States and Puerto Rico. So what you can get for $1 is way different in New York than what you can get in Puerto Rico. For Puerto Rico, $1 goes a lot further than in New York. And that's why many places, they may have a national minimum wage, but there's a state minimum wage, because people know that the cost of living is different in these different locations. So you may have a place like, for example, New York. I'll compare New York to Florida. In New York, the wages are generally higher than Florida because, one, the cost of living is higher in in New York. And two, they pay New York state income taxes. In Florida, there are no state income taxes. So clearly, people can generally make less there because the cost of living is cheaper. There's less things going on down there than there is in New York. New York, they got to pay for the subway. You got to pay for the buses. You got to pay for all these things we have down here. So, of course, then you got to pay for politicians. So clearly, you have all these people that generate services that require money. So in order to have those things, you got to, one, pay people more money so they can pay more taxes. So the dollar, which is the same in Florida, Puerto Rico, and in New York, is the exact same dollar, but the value of that dollar is different in all these three places. Because when you go to buy gas in Puerto Rico, it looks a little different than gas price in New York or in Florida in terms of the dollar, because the average person doesn't even make $25,000, I think, at this point in Puerto Rico. And at this point, they may make close to that. But if you're making $25,000, you're living pretty good. But if you go to New York, $25,000 is basically McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the point there. So I wanted to bring that in because I think people don't understand is that it's the value of the individual, and it's going to mean more depending on how sophisticated person A or committed person is to a relationship, and it's going to mean different to a person in place B, and that really goes back to upbringing, values, your religion, because love in Islam is not going to be the same as love for Judaism and Christianity. You know, in Christianity, you tend to have people more romanticized about love. And in Islam, you tend to have less because love is more of a duty and a commitment to Allah and to your family unit, which is husbands and wives. So the love there is a lot different than you're going to see in Christianity, because we often, it's weird how love is classified in the religions. So people mistake love for man as love for relationship. You know, when we talk about love your father and mother, clearly, how do you do that, right? So people don't understand when you talk about love, most of the times in the Bible, they're not really talking about romantic love, but people don't understand it, and they get that conflated by the feeling love versus like the love of duty because you are committed to that person. So love, like for example, when the church talks about a love offering, what is that? That is basically your commandment, right? Your commandment to the aid of something. So you give this offering because if you love God, you give this for whatever the purpose of this offering is, a love offering. It's not like you're dating God and it's like, oh, you're my boo God. You know, it's like, no, you made a commitment because you're in this church. So the love of God is your duty, right? You don't love God writing poems and stuff like that to show your love to God. Really, the true love of God is doing his will, following his word. That's the true love of God. God, we worship God, right? But outside of worshiping God, and there's really not much you can do in terms, you can't bake God a cake. You can't give him flowers. So what people don't understand is your commitment to God to do what it requires of you is what love means. And we can't even do that unconditionally. So how do you expect to do that with people? And that's what people don't understand. Most people, even though they say they do, I'm going to debate anybody that says they love God unconditionally. I'm going to debate that because that means that your life is perfect and you don't backslide from anything. And I'm pretty sure on the surface, people will say, yeah, I love God. Yeah. Okay. Let's examine your lifestyle and see how that's turning out. All right, Donnie. So, Jim, he went in there, he went back, but we don't have to necessarily go back. You can kind of comment at this point on anything in the discussion that you may have been inspired to reflect on, and we can talk about that.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to need to pass right now because I lost my train of thought when we had pivoted.
Okay. We got to get you some pens and papers over here. You can write it down.
Yeah, that's the first time I didn't write something on. Yeah,
that's okay.
Ironically.
All right. So, I'm enjoying this conversation because I think it's important that people have perspective. And I'm not trying to knock anybody's what they feel is love, but the point is, you either a perfect being or you're not. And that's the issue that we're really talking about here. And it's not to say that you can't love and there's no purpose for love, but love should be the least reason for leaving a marriage, or leaving a relationship, because there's a rap song that came out in the 90s called My Mind's Playing Tricks on Me. So anything can cause you to fall off your purpose, right? So if you don't see that you have fallen and needed to stand up firm, you're going to keep acting on whatever feeling you have at that time. Mm-hmm. So if it's negative, you're going to go in a negative direction. And if your emotion is has altered its course, then guess what happens? And this is what happens in relationships. Now they're looking for that feeling, that stimulation, and then they go into other people and look for it. But here's the problem. That's a bad foundation to build on. So when you go out and you can't find the love that you have for your husband or your wife, you try to get it in the next person, or your boyfriend or your girlfriend, or whatever the case may be. Then you're trying to now replace with someone else because you've sort of given up on trying with that person based on the satisfaction that you're receiving, whether it's the person doesn't make enough money, whether the lifestyle is not conducive to your lifestyle. So now you're trying to replace it with that person. But here's the problem with that. You haven't worked at that relationship most of the time. In your mind, you said, well, I did this, I did all this cooking, I did all this cleaning. Okay, let's ask this question. Did you go to counseling? Did you go to therapy? Because a lot of times when things go wrong in relationships, yeah, the other person could be the person that caused some of the things, but a lot of times it could be yourself. And if you don't know what's wrong, all you're going to do is what? Carry on luggage and take it wherever you go. All you're going to do is take that luggage and you're going to come from point A to point B. And then what'll happen at that point, you'll go through the process all over again. So you'll have these wonderful feelings for somebody until they don't meet the expectation. And then all of a sudden, there's a problem with the person. That's why you see so many people, a lot of times, I won't point fingers, but you know who they are. They're in relationship A, B, C, D, E, F. And they just can't maintain one relationship. And if they're in a marriage, they're messing with man A or woman A, B, C, D, E, F, G, trying to replicate those feelings. But again, you bring the baggage from one person to the next. That's why I believe reputable therapy is very important, because once you understand relationships are more about commitment and duty to you, that commitment, then love, we're not saying there's no place for love, because yes, it's very nice that you can tell someone like, oh, I'm sorry that your back is hurting, versus like giving them a massage. Like, I listen, I understand people who can say, oh, I'm sorry, your back is sore. But then there's another that's like, oh, your back is sore, I'll massage your back. That's a better feeling than someone saying, I'm sorry, your back hurts. Am I wrong, Jim? Am I wrong, Donnie? I was about to say, because I can use a massage even when my back is not hurt. So it's just the things that we do in relationships is really just as important as how we're feeling. And I think that's what people have to understand. Love is based on so much feeling and not enough action. We say in order to get those feelings, we got to give these actions. And that's what the confusion is. People are confused as to what love is. Love is supposed to be standard that we give to all people, not necessarily discriminative, but loyal. Your love for someone should be loyal, and so love and commitment is not necessarily the same thing, because I love people all the time, but I'm not committed to them because I have no duty to them. I don't have a duty to a homeless person, but I love that person because they're a child of God. They're God's creation. So people have to understand what love really means. Love really should be similar. There's aspects of love that someone is created, eros, agape, and all of those things. But that is a complicated topic that people don't really understand for themselves. And I think people should really research the variations of love, because the love that people are talking about is not agape. And when you venture into the eros and other aspects of what love is, those are the very dangerous points of love. And that's probably when I wanted to leave it. So Donnie, do you think you can come back in here, or do I need to go to gym?
Oh yeah, go to gym just so we go in our normal order.
Well, it was you. So you passed. Just okay. I just
want. Oh, sure. Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on this, really. I don't even know where to start. Here's where I'll go. Yeah, I think people are most definitely, as you said, it's that that value that is the issue. um I'm gonna sound like a broken record here, but you got to know um your oh, I've forgotten my own word. You got to know your non-negotiables, the things you can go with you can't go without. Love should not be love in the sense that we're talking about, should not be one of them. That can't be the thing that makes or breaks an entire relationship. It's not a strong enough or reliable enough feeling for it. What you do need, and we've talked about this in other episodes, what you do need is that reliable person who you know you actually like aside from being in love, someone who you know you can depend on rather than someone who makes you feel nice. You need to know that there's something there for you, whether they're mad at you or not, because you can't have your entire way of living be jeopardized by someone's emotional state.
Mhm.
That's a good one. And I'm just going to leapfrog right over to you, Jim, because I said a mouthful earlier, covering for Donnie until he recollected.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I agree with everybody says, especially the you can't have your future based on emotional state of how a person feels one day from the next. It's too risky. It's too much. It is way too risky. I always have problems with this topic because I was very unsure of what it really meant to love or to how people know that I love them. And people have their own different requirements, and sometimes adapting to them is not really beneficial to me. But it was just a way of proving that I can do it, and that I'm basically for me it was more like a a way of not saying I'm not this type of person. But what Donnie says, know your non-negotiables, and as from that, I experienced what my non-negotiables were, and it's a process. A lot of people, a lot of women from the opposite sex do not accept my non-negotiables, but it's there for my protection and for yours as well. And it allows to, I won't say weed out, but it brings more clarification on, about the relationship and what I will put into it. And, love is not even in my top 5, which is weird, but, I, some things that are more priority to me than that. My mother loves me, but things were difficult with her, and love shouldn't be difficult, right? So to me that's like my fifth place of maybe my fifth, not even my top 5. That's way down my totem pole.
Yeah, I think the issue here when we talk about love is really it boils down to people having expectations and having those expectations met and giving with the anticipation of getting. Even when people say that they love someone unconditional, but unconditional usually means to give without expecting anything in return. But it's nearly impossible for someone to give. Like I said, that you got to be Forrest Gump, because the average person, after a while, they're going to really turn around and be like, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I'm just, this person is just taking, not giving anything. And usually that is a problem. See, what you really, when we talk about relationships, what you really have to get engaged in is commitment. Commitment. Many people do it to things that are less important. For example, their jobs or careers, their education. Think about people who are in college or were in college, had to do these 10-page essays, dissertations, thesis, all these things to get a bachelor's, a master's, a PhD, a MD, a JD, all these things that people have done to accomplish in life and are successful. They put forth a strong commitment to what they want to be a part of. So if you have a job you really want to do, you're committed to it. You're employee of the month, and you try to be employee of the month every month, even if you can't. that's the approach to a relationship. You should commit to being employee of the month in your relationship every month. And it's not to say you'll always get it. And it's not to say the person that you're with will always be employee of the month too. But you have to figure out what your commitment is to that person. If they're dating you, boyfriend and girlfriend, that's one level of commitment. But if you've taken the time to marry someone, that's another commitment. And the problem that we have in all the modern years, including 2021, is most people want a wedding. They don't want a marriage. The marriage often dies once they've left the wedding. The problem is people don't realize it. And then things begin to die from there. It's like life. We all die a little bit from birth. We just don't realize it until we're at death's door. And if you die instantly, you never realize it. And it's the same thing with relationships. Every relationship dies a little when you get in it. The key is what type of medical treatment, not really medical treatment, but I'm just being poetic. What type of treatment are you willing to give it for it to live? Because most people aren't, because they think, I get rid of this one, I'll get a next one. And that's really what it boils down to. So, Donnie, I'll let you, if you can kind of jump on that, and then we'll start closing out, because we definitely said a lot today.
Yeah. I suppose what I want to close out with, as I always do, is a bit of advice. That's pretty much my deal. What I'd say is, it's not necessary to give up on the idea of love in its entirety. Sure, it's fun, it's real, you can have it. However, don't live through your whole life alone because you couldn't find that Prince Charming that Disney tried to sell you. It's not the end all be all. There's bigger things to relationships and love than just that. I'd say figure out what your other values are first and worry about love second.
That's a good one. Jim, did you want to close out with something?
I agree with Donnie. It's okay to love, it's there, it's a feeling, it's one of our emotions, but it's not the primary. It's not even, for me, not even a secondary. But, a relationship devoid without love, it could fail as well. A relationship with love could fail as well, but it's what you put in. I really do believe it's what you put into a relationship that will dictate if it helps dictate that will go further or not.
Yeah, that's yeah, definitely. And I just wanted to finalize everything by saying no one is bashing love and saying that you shouldn't have it and you shouldn't give it or receive it. What we're trying to tell you is, because you are an imperfect being, the aspect of love and your own personal understanding of what it is can trick you because of circumstances, because of something someone does to you or something that happens in your life that causes you to fall from your standards of what love is. So while we're not saying that you shouldn't love someone and be loved, what we're trying to tell you is that love shouldn't account for everything, because there's commitment involved in a relationship, and the commitment should always supersede the feeling, because right now what everyone has is the feeling of love. Every person, it's a feeling. Now there is an aspect of what love is supposed to be, but if you have the commitment, that is true love. Not the love that we're talking about here, which is the feeling of love, the emotion of love, the romance of love. Those things are wonderful and beautiful when you have them. But the true love is the duty and commitment. That unconditional love, that's what that really is. It's the commitment that you have to the other person. It's the duty you have to the institution of your marriage and your relationship. That's really what it boils down to. When you talk about unconditional love, that's it right there. It's not the dates, the flowers, the candy. It's not the sex. It's not the vacations, the cars. It's not the fur coats, jewelry. It's not those things. It's the duty and commitment that you give tirelessly and effortlessly to the person that you're with, that you've charged yourself with being with, caring and loving. Loving. That's what love is, not all this other stuff that you see on Hallmark or sometimes on ABC or network TV, cable, movies. It's not those things. It's the duty of your mate is in the hospital and you're there to encourage that person to get through it. Or the person lost their job and you encourage that person that it's going to be okay, that they're going to find something else, that tomorrow will be okay. Those are the things that we're talking about here. We're not talking about the gimme. We're talking about the give you. True love is about giving to other people. Mm-hmm. Unconditional love is about giving to other people and not what you're getting from that person. If we all kept to duty in that way, love would last forever because you would be giving and the person would be giving back. So that's really what we're talking about here. And we charge everybody with doing that. Everybody should be giving, as Donnie said, 100, 100. He didn't say that today, but he said that previously. But 100, 100 people should be giving, not a piece, but all. And that should have nothing to do with how you feel. Once people understand true love and unconditional love, agape love is not about how good the sex was and how great the Christmas gift was, they would understand that their relationship will last and stand the test of time. But until then, you'll keep searching for a love that will constantly desire to be full, but will always be empty because you can't get what you want 100% of the time. And with that, we'll bid you a farewell. Until next time, take care.
Take care.